Welcome home, dearest Brava baby, to Do You Believe in Brava, the interview series where I, Talia Brava, personal growth leader of the next generation, meet with stars from across the spiritual personal world to try their practices, feel their vibe, and most importantly, ask them, do you believe in Brava? In Brava, in Brava, in Brava, in Brava.
Also, it's so beautiful to feel you because I love your energy on your IGTVs, but I do have to say you come at it strong. And just in our interaction now, I'm like, what a gentleman! Like you're actually a gentleman man.
Thank you.
I won't tell the rest of the internet. I promise. Who is the peace dealer? How did you come to this meow moment?
First of all, very, very honored and grateful to have this interview. Yeah, and really awesome to connect with you. I really love your vibe. I really love what it is you're doing too, and I look to see how that's going to evolve and expand. So I always like to say that astrology basically found me, just kind of like came through and was like, all right, you're waking up now, whether you want to or not. And it's definitely been the journey ever since. I would like to say the Peace Dealer is an avatar of the universe that seeks to restore the divine and celestial nature in every single being, human, animal, and thankfully I get to speak the language of the stars to help, play that out. Let's just say like we have a limited understanding of ourselves, and I'm here to help restore back the true essence and real understanding.
I love it. Let's start right there. Let's start the moment that you were hit with astrology finding you. Who was that person? Who needed to die to be reborn as this person that was here before us?
Oh, fascinating question. So, I mean, if you're familiar with astrological transits, this was my Jupiter in the 12th house transit in Taurus. Well, no, it was actually my first house transit coming out of Aries into the first. And I just was at this point lost. Like I've been a Christian my whole life. I had gotten a DUI 2011 for a car that I never drove drunk, and I had to go through this weird case that got dismissed, pre-trial diversion. But yeah, it made me just look at my life more soberly. Like as far as, okay, like if I did die, did I represent Jesus Christ the way that I should have? And was I really an authentic Christian? So this led me down 2011 to reawaken my faith. I got back into my word. I got the Bible right here. I went back into the Bible. I had planned to become a theologian because I wanted to witness to Jesus. I wanted to witness to the world to Jesus Christ and be like, hey, like, this is a real war being fought. And I didn't want to be a lukewarm Christian anymore. And going through that and getting stronger in the word led me to want to actually research it so that I can defend it properly. And people who say the Bible is fake, like, I wanted to be an actual scholar. And in researching that, I ended up realizing, oh, the Bible is not even really this inerrant word of God that I've been taught it was. And this is what kind of unraveled the fact that maybe my whole life is a fucking lie. Now, thankfully, the lessons I learned from Christianity and the way my mother brought me up definitely taught me the integrity I use for it. So very grateful for it. But this was just a path away. And it was around 2012 where all the greatest like conspiracy videos and just the woke material was coming out at that time. So everyone was really in gear for what we thought the Mayan calendar ended. But it really, around that time, 2011, Harold Camping was talking about the world was going to end, and I knew it wasn't going to end, but I was like, is this how I'm going to go out? Like, am I repping, Christ that well? And that's what led into me, through my youngest sister, meeting this African traditional spiritualist. He was an Aquarius, and he brought me into like Santeria and Palo and learning how to read tarot. I would see him like read tarot for his clients, and evoke deities and do what he actually was one of the first people, because around that time, that was when I started watching horoscope videos. I don't even know what started me watching that too, because up until this time, like, it's of the devil, like, am I supposed to do that? But I just started watching Marie Moore. I started watching Judy Garland. I started watching Astrologer. And I was like, damn, this is kind of accurate until I actually had my natal chart reading done by Christopher Witecki, and then also by the Leo King, back then known as David Palmer, and just David Palmer, Exclusive Astrology, and we were all in Soul Garden at the time, and I was a editor for the Gemini team, and that was what opened my mind up to how legit astrology as a craft was. I got to learn about my moon sign, other signs. It was just so fast, and that just set me on an accelerated path to just learn all this as much as I could. And I remember my mentor at the time was telling me, "Oh, astrology's bullshit. Like, we can just work directly with the gods. You guys wait on transits." And it's interesting because, like, even though a part of me accepted that, like, in my head the whole time I was like, you're tripping. Like, you're living up to your astrological archetype. Like, you're proving it right now. So, right.
So that's that dance, right? Like being gods and like having this destiny. Like, we have that ability to have free will and navigate the times, but also the times coming. So what is your dance with, like, because I think it's something that we all struggle with as human beings, like creators and also animals. Like, how do you struggle or reconcile, like, I feel like I have the destiny and here's my free will? I know that's like a huge question, but what does that look like in your life?
That's a great question. So I think that's definitely something that I've been able to flesh out more recently than ever, really. So, I mean, just to clarify, you're saying, like, the difference between having a destiny and acting out on it, or
yeah, like when you can see and feel, like, with your astrological understanding, like, really see clearly destiny play out, and like the course of planets is like already set, but then how do you navigate your free will within that? And like, what's your really, because I feel like for me that's one of the biggest questions that I'm just so overwhelmed by. Like, it's like it takes me out.
Yeah, once again, it's a really great question, because I would say, especially, it's like everything that I've through experience come to learn has now prepared me for now, where now you have to rest on your knowledge, because it's life or death. Like, you need to see how stuff is playing out. Not like it wasn't life or death before, but there's so much more at stake. So this has allowed me to accept the fate, accept that certain things are just destined to happen and are happening. And I like to see it like a video game, because in a video game, your path is predestined. You have certain levels that you're going to go through. There's certain rooms that you can go through. And now my free will is how quickly do I pass the game, or how skillfully do I pass the game. So I still have the free will. Right. I can accept fate. I can humble myself and accept fate, but it's up to me how I go through it. And that creates my destiny. And that gives me the opportunity, even though things are fated to happen, to even change fate. Well, not to change fate, but to change my destiny around my experience of that fate, to make it work.
It's like how we ride. It's like we're on the ride, how we ride it.
Right.
And that's going to impact the way that maybe it'll take like 100 lifespans to get to our destiny being fulfilled, or like we're going to be able to do it now and like really affect an amazing change of the planet.
Right. Absolutely.
When you think about that, when you think about, like, and I want you to go all the way to like how we do in the Brava community, and I know you do too, so I know you don't hold back. When you think about, like, wow, if you were to prophesize like the ultimate embodiment of your soul's destiny, like, what change would you be able to create?
Oh, great question. Honestly, full on X-Men Academy. Like, just a total recall of the education system and exposure of how millions of human beings are being treated like cattle. I mean, we're being dangled this technological economic revolution, but we're not being shown what's being hidden to us. We're glossing over a lot of how we're being dumbed down deliberately. It's almost as if we're some slave race to just help the economy like boost. And so you can't really say that.
Yeah.
You can't say that without it sounding like a theory. But now, there's so much personal experiences and information to at least allude that there's some truth into it. So
absolutely. And I think even the fact that people's mental constructs are so rigid that they're so threatened by new ways of thinking, that there's so much vitriol all over. I mean, we met on Insta, but it's like all I see on my feed is people just being so incredibly threatened by the idea that someone is giving them a thought that actually makes them think in a different way.
right.
And how are we an educated population if that's our response to thought?
No, that's one of the best questions you've asked, because it revealed to me more than ever the Stockholm syndrome that people just leave to experts, because since birth you are conditioned to take in everything you take from that television or from an official source as truth. And whether you want to admit it or not, like this is all a part of subliminal messaging and reinforcement from school, reinforcement from family and culture, to make it so that you listen to what you're told on the news, and anyone else who offers their own independent research is either a theorist or they don't really know what they're talking about. And unless you study, how governments are run, and unless you study how propaganda is pushed, you'll just think, oh, I mean, it's not that big a deal. Just listen to what these people are saying. But, it really reveals how much people are afraid of change. People are, right. Like,
and they want to believe so badly that there is a structure to believe in. And once you go through experience, like literally losing your religion, like you've been there, like you've been in the abyss of like, all the structure's gone. So it's like that is the way shower for us right now in like 2020 when everything's falling apart.
And I'm glad you said that, because I understand how Christians think. Like I was that dude trying to witness to you, and like silently judge you because you weren't living Christian, thinking that I was looking out for you, not knowing how entitled my attitude actually comes off. I was really genuinely thinking that I'm helping people, and in some ways I was. But I can understand that blindness. I can understand that bias. I can understand how my own beliefs can cloud my judgment. And it's just really fascinating to see how, like, first of all, we're supposed to trust our government. So like the whole notion of government structures, like we're supposed to rely on that force to have integrity, because this is what allows us to trade and do or not. So the whole notion of people not wanting to distrust the government, I'll give them that right, because our governments are not supposed to be corrupt as fuck.
Yeah.
And they're not supposed to disservice like that. So you should look at mainstream outlets, you should look at the government, and you should trust them. This is exactly why they get away with everything they get away with, because these are magicians, these are warlocks who can literally misabuse your trust and get away with it every time.
It's like a toxic family dynamic. Like a 3-year-old doesn't come into his toxic ass family and be like, Mom, you really need to go to alcohol treatment.
Right.
Mom's mad because I'm bad, and the internal, like, it's the same system. It's like, I love what you're saying here. Like, we should have a system that we can trust. We should have community that we can, like, I give my taxpayer money so that I have this happen, and that's true, and it's just not what's happening
at all. And that's why there's so much corruption that gets swept under the rug. I mean, my parents are from Nigeria, so it's been colonized, and it's I think about 50 years old as a country. So I've seen open corruption. I've openly been extorted by police. Like, they don't hide it there, and so it makes it easier to see. Oh, this is what happens in America. They just hide it.
And that's so good, because we are the most indoctrinated people. We don't get out the fucking streets. We're like, I mean, we've been told since we were babies, like, put our hand on our heart and pledge allegiance. That's some fucking cult shit.
It is. And when you tell someone to pledge allegiance to a fictitious entity America is a corporation. So when you're indoctrinating and brainwashing people to develop this form of nationalism, it goes into this huge agenda of having you forget who you are, which is once again why I just want to completely uproot everything in the system and just change education so people can be educated on who they are. So people as kids can learn astrology, because if you don't know math, if you don't know English, you would be seen as illiterate. You wouldn't be taken seriously. You would be seen as dumb. Well, no one knows astrology. Astrology is, you need to know astrology before language and math, because this helps you understand these aspects. Or maybe you can learn math to count, right? But like, learning astrological literacy and speaking that language is just as important as learning to read and write and calculate. So many people are illiterate and don't even know, and normalize making fun of not knowing some stuff you need to know. So,
And you know what I love, darling? First of all, I love it. It's always hilarious to me how like the skeptics like act like they understand electricity or like anything. You don't fucking understand anything. And now you're like, I'm shocked you don't understand astrology. It's the most ridiculous thing. My darling, one thing I need to tell you and just reflect back to you is that I think we are in alignment when we are doing our soul's destiny on like the level that we're at. So it's like right now you're already doing this. I can't tell you how much I need a supercut video of you telling me to smack people, because you say it in like every way and it's always like a sign off, like, and then it's like an uppercut or it's like a soul slap or it's like a chin slap. Like you're empowering already the X-Men community of like every time you go to live, that's the energy that you promote and that you put out there is like you're fucking powerful, and like you can find out how powerful you are.
And that, I think, is easily the most rewarding part of what I do. First of all, that supercut video will be legendary. And second of all, yeah, like I've gotten to manifest my connection with y'all. Like I didn't realize how deep we were. Outnumbered, I'd say, but I didn't realize how deep we were and the potential of everyone still, ready to awaken, until, you guys showed up and let me know, hey, we resonate with what you're saying. And this just let me know, like, wow, like there's so much. And that's why I love what I do, because basically what I do is I get to tell you how amazing and awesome you are. And then you either pretend you didn't know the whole time, or you like come into this amazing awareness. And I think it's the greatest privilege and it's the greatest honor. Like I really get to marvel at how awesome y'all are. And
oh my god, darling, and I love that your name is Michael, like your other name, because I've just been like, I'm newly obsessed with basketball. It's called basketball because I've been watching Last Dance with Michael.
Okay.
And like I'm learning so much about teams, right? And like the team like it's obvious, but like the team does well when everyone's a superstar, not just one person is a star. And how fulfilling it is to like be surrounded by people that you've empowered. So now you're surrounded by fucking superstars. Like you are, because so I want to ask you this question. As a Gemini, I feel like Geminis, you're so relationship based. And when we go through transitions, not only do we die, part of us, oftentimes a lot of those that are close to us shift and change, and maybe they don't vibe with us anymore. Like what's been your journey of like developing your community, letting it change? Like how's that shown up for you through this path?
Developing the community, letting it change. This definitely taught me a truer sense of family, and it's also really taught me how to be a community leader and how to really take up responsibility, because a lot of what goes into cultivating, developing, managing requires solid integrity. And this is what let me realize, oh wow, like there are a lot of people who take advantage of this position, take advantage of vulnerable women, and instead of reading their charts, they hit on them and try and have sex with them, which is disgusting, or they'll just steal and scam your money. And this is definitely just allowed to be the opportunity to not only see how important this is, but to see real time, real people who are also going through the suppression, going through this is more of a realization that we're in this together. And and it's definitely leading up to a glorious climax and conclusion. The next step is like opening up physical meetup spaces where we can do what we do live together, which is going to be so awesome.
So exciting, because I feel that this experience of isolation has allowed us actually this invitation to not just be surrounded by like the day job people or the people that you have to see, and so it's like actually I think like so much more misaligned connections have dropped off and so many more aligned connections have been forming. Like even just the fact that we're living right now, like my
Right.
daughter, I wasn't even into astrology before 2020, and now I'm like, oh my god, it's like crash course because every astrologer is like this kind of insane, and I'm like, has it always been like this insane? So turning over to you for that, what a dear friend of mine, Sarah Armour, who's a fellow astrologist, she was asking me to ask you, what is your thoughts on 2021? And what are you preparing for? Like, what is this boss battle you refer to?
Oh my God. First, okay, so there's 2020, there's 2017, there's 2020, there's 2021, and then there's 2023. So 2020 is the transition period between 2021 and 2017. So 2021 and 2023 is this alpha overdrive, like everything for 2020 set up what's going to happen in 2021. Full out war, full out civil war, full out awakening, full out revolution, full out mass extinction, full out pandemic. So I wanted to make this skit where like you see 2019 and 2017 terrorizing the last years of the decade, like, you guys can't stand me. And then everyone's just like, oh my God. And then 2019 is like, and then it looks back and it's like 2020. And 2020 is just like, and just destroying everything.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, everyone kept saying 2019 was a bad year. Wasn't that the year, or 2018?
Right. Little did we know. Only for 2021. So after 2020 scares everyone away, only for 2021 to just be like, boom, and just be like, So like everything that we're experiencing 2020, and I thought 2020 was the beginning of the decade. That's 2021. So everything that we're experiencing 2020 is a setup and culmination for the narrative of the next decade. All this intensity is the new norm. Like this is a pressure cooker of, and that's why it's so hard for people to understand, because it's denial. It's mass denial. Everything that's happening has been cooking for the past 2 decades. And so it's not representative of how people have been feeling, but people have just been spiritually bypassing, sweeping shit under the rug, refusing to acknowledge these issues, refusing to acknowledge it. Now it's blowing up in your face. And all people can do is just point the finger and be like, it's this person's racist, this person's being prejudiced, this person is being irresponsible. So it's the reason why this is important is Saturn in Aquarius is a collective test. Saturn in Aquarius wants everyone around the world to acknowledge it's all our fault. It's all our fault. Some of us did more work than others. There's some few people who aren't to blame, but as a collective, it's all our fault. And so we all have to come together as a community, a world community, in order to pretty much deal with these challenges. Because right now, the sins of our forefathers, which they kind of had to do because this was their karma, but we are divided by nations, nationality, territories. We're all supposed to be able to travel borders freely. And there's certain territories.
It's right. It doesn't make any sense that we can't.
Not at all.
We can't fucking travel because of an imaginary line you created.
Right. And we know for a fact that, borders statistically do protect countries from crime. So they do have its effect, but ultimately there shouldn't really be any borders, and crime should be dealt with as one world instead of jurisdiction, but it's all greed and imperialism that set this up. And so what people need to realize is the consequence for imperialism, the consequence for countries being colonized now rests on our shoulders. We have to deal with this.
And in a sense, we did it, right? It's all fucking past lives. Like, it's all, we're all the same fucking energy reincarnating over and over again. So it's like, we're cleaning up our own damn mess. Humanity problem.
Right. And that speaks very well on all the souls like you and I that have chosen to kind of deal with this and inherit this responsibility. But it's thank you for asking that question, because this is everything you've been prepared to deal with. And it's a whole lot happening at once. So we have this yeah. So when we have, there are people in China that can help people in Russia, that can help people in Canada, that can help people in the U.S., but we have to come together. That can help people in Africa, and each culture has the answer. But we're dividing each other and stealing each other's ideas and techniques.
And that's that super team versus being Michael Jordan and being like, I don't want anyone to look good.
I feel you on that. I feel you on
The
that.
diversity, and that's like actually like learning to. I'm hoping that this extreme division is going to break through to a place where we're actually able to appreciate each other's diversity, because that's like the only way we're going to be able to utilize everybody.
That's the best part, though. And I hate to interrupt you, but you nailed it. Like, we already do this, by the way. Like, we have reached a place in the world where we do appreciate each other's cultures. But you nailed it. It's the super, instead of the super team, it's that one elite player. Just like we have in each culture elite billionaires or elite personnel that may not have money but know people, who now siphon the rest of they treat us as a slave race and a lower class, and they're the ones that are making the secret decisions instead of having total transparency. And so they can hide behind their political rhetoric and the nice things they say with these billion-dollar backed amazing corporations and nonprofits that help the world, and they can basically poison us behind our backs, and we can't say anything because they have authority. They have receipts to show what they've done, and how could you accuse this good person of doing all this heinous evil shit that they have all the power to get away with?
It's a great veil right now. It's a huge one. So, my darling, I have a question for you. When you think about rhetoric, and you're such a wordsmith, and I love you give the daily word, and like there's power in word. I believe words are like spells. How do you feel into truth? And as a human, like on Instagram and the YouTubes and stuff, how do you not fall victim to spells? Like, how do you discern truth?
That's a really, really, really good question. So truth is very much so a frequency, and just to kind of finish what you're saying about we were saying about 2021, we're not going to pass this collective test, and that's what's going to lead into. We have the potential to, and small groups will, like us, coming together, and that's what's going to have us advance. But it does seem that most people aren't going to really come together and let pride and prejudice come through. And so this is now going to simulate the wartime. Like, this is what's going to let people's egos and skirmishes kind of allow certain things to play out that we're destined to. So it's not really all you failed humans, as much as this is just the karma that we have to kind of deal with. So when it comes to discerning truth, which is so very important, truth is definitely a frequency. And what, ironically, the greatest spiritual defense when it comes to seeing through deception is basic logic and common sense. In fact, logic is my Jesus. So, like, as far as I'm concerned, right, like, as far as like being able to point out fallacies and having that logical base, this is now going to help with your intuition and understand the feel, because truth is a frequency. And so when something rings true, it's a clear frequency in your heart.
I love this because
that you resonate with.
You're speaking to the fact that we've all been gaslit into not trusting the most basic.
Yes. Deliberately gaslit, and this was to silence Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, that part in us that can sense the bullshit. But now it's just relegated to irrational emotions. Now we've allowed scientific literature and rhetoric to say psychic, even though the CIA has basically blown the lid over on our hologram reality and astral projection. We've been conditioned to believe that, your psychic intuition isn't real like that. It's just your feelings. The research academies and universities that we were supposed to learn in school how to develop and hone this, but it's been suppressed so that we won't listen to it when it fires off. And we have been systematically suppressed. We can bring in chemtrails or vaccines, but let's if we don't even bring those in, our superpowers have been systematically labeled and diagnosed as mental illnesses.
Yes. Even if you go even simpler than that, you're not allowed to fucking feel. Like, you're not allowed to cry. You have to stop crying. That's complete denial of a human's actual ability to sense what's happening here.
That's so true. Yeah. just emotional. And that makes sense because this is very much so an earth dimension. So it's like that's going to oppose that emotion because, you know, there's the other delusional end where there's no logic, but I'm willing to give that water energy the benefit of the doubt. The reason why water or water signs mainly will come off as delusional is they're deliberately not being given the structure and foundation for them to be themselves. And so you're taking them out of their element, you're lying to them, and then you're gaslighting the crap out of their existence. And this is enough to make every Pisces escape, Cancer's depressed, and Scorpios hate you. Because
Well,
they
no,
hate
Charlie, I'm like a super Scorpio, and the other day you were like, something you said really resonated. You were like, you know, Scorpios and Capricorns act like they're like hermits, but really they're just like real regal and they're not really into you. And then me and my fellow Capricorn like just canceled plans on each other today because we probably were like, don't really want to see each other. And I was like, oh my God, can I just own that? Like, I'm not lonely and sad. I'm just kind of like being by myself the most.
Right, right. In fact, and that's just so, and that's amazing because that also takes back your power too. Because people are so quick to call us introverts, and it's a lot of entitlement. We've also been conditioned to step into to answer your question. By the way, a really great way of discerning what's true is how much aligned is it with logic and what kind of frequency is it clear. If someone tells you the truth and you're more confused, it's not the truth because your lack of understanding can make it more confusing, but the truth is supposed to clear misconception. So it's something I would have never admitted, but how it feels is very important, and you have to balance how the truth feels with actual logic and you know, common sense. But yeah, like it's amazing how a lot of people who are introverted aren't really introverted. They just don't have a safe space to where they can be extroverted because people don't have integrity or aren't pure or just a waste of time.
Absolutely. And it's like that permeability too that some of us be careful with our energy that we can feel what's going on and we might not be into it.
Yeah.
My darling, also I have a question for you about seeing the truth in yourself. So like knowing that you have this ability to like see your fucking soul and like read it. Is there any part of your chart that you were like, I don't know if I can own that or it doesn't feel like that's true, and then you've come into embracing?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question. I have a very my principle on that is just total acceptance because like whether you like a chart or not, like I'll never say I wish I had this placement because if just one thing changed, I wouldn't be who I was. So like I do honor everything I have, but I'd say as far as chart placements, I would equate more so like I've come to just deeply admire the placements that I have. But when it comes to the house system, I used to interpret my houses through Placidus, which put my Venus in the 12th and my Mars in the 11th. And now I'm starting to see that my Mars is a more 12th house Mars. My moon's more ninth house, and I'm less eighth house as I've always felt I was. I'm definitely more first house Venus, ninth house moon. So it's really just because I kind of wanted to be Scorpio really bad, so I wanted the eighth house energy.
Well, you guys, Geminis and Scorpios, we like get each other. We're like the intense ones.
Yeah, actually, I think it's a true yin yang connection too, which is really dope. But yeah, I mean, just embracing more hidden aspects of myself that I'm now bringing out into my identity. It's like coming out a spiritual closet of something.
Oh my gosh, my darling, I was just thinking that. It's a spiritual coming out party. And 2020 for me has been so crazy because I like just dove head first into astrology, and it has definitely shot me into a spiritual coming out. Like, no, that is exactly the words I would use for it. And it is that. It's like owning. So like us probably do know, like I have an altar, like she thinks I'm the altar. But this altar, Talia Brava, like enables me to be fucking 1,000% with all the dark aspects of my chart. And as like a super Scorpio, like those shit, they like need to be expressed.
Can I ask you something about that? Because that's highly fascinating. I believe that Scorpio is a legitimate transformation mechanism. So it's almost as if Talia is like your transformation form.
Mm.
And that's very revolutionary to kind of express. It's genius to, express it the way you do, but I would really stand to say it's not a joke. I think you really do harness, um, even more than Talia, this ancient energy, which is very fascinating to
Oh,
do in
that's
front
so
of us.
darling. I mean, I feel something, there is a liberation that, like, I don't feel like, it doesn't feel like, it's this, like, Talia, like, for me, like I always say, is more real than Lucia, because Lucia, I change my voice, like, every time I get on the phone, I'm like a different human. Like, I have different friends that have different personality, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, we all do that, and it's like, Talia Brava is actually, like, permission to be fucking real. So how is that, like, not the altar? You know, how is that
You're
the
right.
altar? Other isn't the altar.
And this speaks very much so to my personal transformation process because I'm becoming more of who I've always really been. Because ever since my birth, I've never really I've never really been allowed to be me. I didn't even know how to know who I was because aspects of my personality have always been suppressed. Certain things I wasn't even really allowed to do, speak on, and that's why I'm so grateful for you and this community because y'all have allowed me to really explore my potential. Y'all have allowed me to go on lives and be myself and like really explore stuff like that. So I feel like I'm awakening to a part of me that has always existed, but I didn't even realize. And that's more my Capricorn side than my Gemini side. In fact, there we go. There we go. To answer your question you asked before, that's really been the biggest mind F or mind fuck because I thought I was a Gemini this whole time. Like I've always identified with my thoughts. I thought I was my thoughts. I thought that I was Gemini. And I realized I have Gemini. I'm actually more a goat bull with the spirit of Gemini. And that's making me realize, as much as I don't want to admit it, I'm Capricorn, but I have the Gemini spirit. And the part of me is like, but I want to be Gemini, But I have to, right. But I have to tap into more of my more Earth, Capricorn, Taurus identity and really,
That's what I'm
harness
a
that.
Taurus moon. I had a similar thing. I think we just want to think of ourselves as like the crazy one at the party, but it's also like, yeah, but we also want to build a business, like both.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm glad to know your moon's in Taurus. That's super awesome.
It feels good. It feels like supportive, my
What
crazy.
about your rising?
So my darling, when you look at another aspect of this question that I want to pull out, you were just doing a synergy reading on a live.
Yeah.
How men are notorious, I don't know if I'm the first to say it, but men are notorious for not always listening to their highest selves when it comes to choosing relationships, listening to their gonads, as they say. How do you navigate that? Like, what do you know right away, like, this is a fit or it's not a fit? And then has there been, like, have you ever, like, completely denied it and, like, jumped in anyway? Like, what's your experience with dating and also seeing so much?
Great question. By the way, what's your rising sign?
My rising is Gemini.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So, yeah. I've been single my whole life. Like I've kind of dated in high school a little bit, but like a lot of this was because I've been such a hermit. Like I don't go out. I magically want my girlfriend to just fall out of the sky all my life. But
And you're reading a journal. That's my life. Yeah.
right. But now I'm ready to. It's interesting because I've just completed relevant transits that have opened this relationship space. And once again, like astrology has been such an amazing tool and language to help me understand my love language, to help me understand, especially as a Mars in Aries, how I can think with my gonads instead of really like follow my heart, and really the lessons and struggle behind it. So for sure, now more than ever, I'm starting to understand the specific archetypes that go into what I contribute to every woman and what every woman contributes to me, or in any relationship sense. I can spot a soulmate before I even read the chart. and the chart is going to completely, you know, affirm that. So now I just kind of see this as like, instead of, because I was caught up in that whole, oh, I'm gonna be with this one soulmate till the rest of my life, and this, and there's still that dream, but now I'm starting to see the goddess, or now I'm starting to see woman as the goddess, in different expressions, and I honor the goddess through serving each and every woman, and so that's what allows me, and like it's gone from more of an idea to like strict religion, like I kind of see it and also now purpose of what am I learning from the situation? What is it meant to really teach me? And this is where like the relationships and the sex gets alchemic, because I even started to realize the energetic combination of what sex releases with that energy, in the sense where like with Gemini, I don't have to eat, like I get more you know, energy with Capricorn or Scorpionic energy. It may be something deep. It's still more exploration, and I don't want to just link it to sex, but it's just so fascinating. And I wouldn't even say I've even gotten heavy into dating yet, as much as I could. I would like to say now, I feel like now I can appreciate it and I know what to do and expect, as to before I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Like in high school and college, like I didn't even know, like, you, because I don't have Libra in my chart. I don't have like Leo. So like the social interaction and stuff, I can communicate with Gemini, but like knowing you're supposed to do this or that, like over my head. So, you know, I had to really come into that, but I'm still a bit clueless, but that makes it even more fun now, because I at least know, you know, what to expect and how to dance. I've always tried to force things and think that, oh, I have to be the man and I have to like be assertive and I have to show, and I still definitely going to bring that masculine energy, but now I'm learning to just shut the fuck up, listen to the woman, and let her lead this dance. And when it's your turn to lead the dance, you lead the dance, and then when it's her time to show you. And so yeah, I'm just learning to take it slow.
That's beautiful. I love that. And I love this idea too of like being in that dance. Shaman Durek, do you know Shaman Durek?
I've heard of him.
He's wonderful. But he was saying that he started to think about looking for a relationship. It's more just like, who can I be completely transparent with? And like when that just like takes us out of like this dynamic of like having to show up in some certain way, or like having some plan of how it's supposed to be. And really like the exploration of it. And also I just totally resonate, because it's like, it's so funny, because I'm like here on a live, and then like in real life I'm like super shy and like kind of prudish. Like I'm like, oh, how dare you, if like anyone like hits on me too quickly. But like Talia Brava, like people would never know. So it is interesting how we like, you know, show up to the world, and then some of us can be the most actually like challenging to get to know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's another thing too. Like I realized how my fear of intimacy was what had me like simultaneously desperately seek love, only to realize I was pushing it away. Like I didn't want it, like I thought it was just like I want it, and then it comes and it's like, oh no, you're coming in too close.
Like so like telling myself that I was so into someone who wasn't interested, and it's like, maybe that's just because you don't want to deal with the actual human who's actually trying to hang out with you.
Yes. Or just more in love with the idea of love than love itself.
Oh, 1,000%. The stories. We live for them. Okay, what's a story that you're letting go of with love? Like let's go there. Is there a story that you've had that you're like, I'm ready to let that thing go?
Oh my God, your questions are so yeah. I would say the biggest, so I kind of operate like a Venus in a 12. The large reason why I was so single was I would deliberately seek unavailable women that I could fall in love with, and I know that they wouldn't date me. So I'd be so into them that, and this was getting unhealthy, like a valuable woman would be available, but I was already infatuated with somebody else.
My story, my life.
Right. So it just made me realize I'm either afraid of really stepping into this, or I know a part of me is picky, because like there's certain people that would have been available and I would jump in it with, but it definitely revealed to me how the whole fantasy of, you know, meeting someone and things just magically working instantly and then just marrying them instantly or just getting to know them.
Like
I
the Vegas
know I
wedding, I like still kind of just like I wanted it to be so right that you're like, let's just go right now and get married and then we'll
right.
talk forever. That would be crazy.
Right. You don't even know if you mortally hate the person yet, but you're ready to like go there. But even outside of that, like I personally um I'm ready to let go of the narrative that love has to be. Actually, I'm ready to go let go of the narrative of love, to be completely honest. Like the
Yeah.
way I look at love, instead of something I'm looking at, especially now that I'm in my 30s, I'm letting go of the narrative that I have to fall in love and embracing more the narrative of building a family or building a collective. So I'm no longer looking at women as people to fulfill my desire, my physical desires and lust. Like I have the opportunity to like build a family with a partner and to actually, you know, get to know somebody. And so I'm definitely willing to take things a lot slower, actually get to know an individual, which has taken me a long time to get
Ooh,
here.
I love this, darling. And I was just listening to my dear friend from the internet, Matt Kahn, and he was saying that the ego will settle rather than go without. So we are now at a place where like we're so fucking like life is fucking interesting and fascinating and amazing that there's no desperation. Like I need to be with someone. So it's like, okay, so I get to choose. I get to like choose someone that I can actually create something and create a world with.
Yes, and I'm so glad you said that. I'm not gonna lie. Last night, I caught myself. I was literally last night trying to find someone I can just desperately fall in love with, that I haven't even like spoken to or met. Not even fall in love. Like I wanted to feel that infatuation, and I realized, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. It doesn't even work. Like I've
It doesn't
tapped it out.
work. Oh my god, that was my whole 20s. Was just like constantly dating, constantly looking for that hit so that I could feel something.
Right, right. And now I'm learning more. It's about service. It's like how can I first of all, I need to be able to know that I can trust you so that I can serve you to the fullest of my capacity. What can I do for you to and that's kind of what I led in with though, because I felt that, oh, I have to do everything for my partner. And it's not until recently I started awakening what's in it for me really, because I used to just surrender all my worth to be like, oh, you're the goddess in this relationship and I will do whatever. But then I didn't realize I started asking recently, like, what is it? Because I never really knew or cared what I wanted until I started realizing, well, this is how I want to be felt, this is how I want to be respected, this is how I want to be treated. And now that only makes me reinforce more serving a partner that actually does, you know, meet those standards, something that I didn't have before. Standards, I felt like everyone has the potential to be amazing
And
you
that's
know.
I think that's a trick when you have a lot of empathy and you see the light in people that you can like there's that thing of like going for what their potential is instead of really
Yeah,
looking at like you said, logic, facts. How does this feel?
right. And that
Are
was
they
the
showing up or not? Like
that was a great part of my awakening, like just coming to terms with all the illusions and being in my feelings and just the lies I would tell myself in an effort to just have faith in a fantasy that was tricky because we're also budding our psychic intuition. So it's not like our subconscious didn't play tricks, or it's not like there weren't legitimate soulmate connections
yes.
that didn't get explored. So learning how to deal with that. But to add on what Matt Kahn said, which is so very true, like I've gotten so comfortable in being a hermit that I, the biggest challenge for me is my Capricorn side is trying to prepare myself to just be single and be like, you know what, I don't even need love. Like I'm gonna just marry people, but I'm not even gonna open my heart. But I know that that other part of me is like, yeah, okay, like you know, if you meet that right person, that will just kind of blow all the way out in the water. So it's just like my ego is so satisfied with staying single if that means I can control how I feel versus actually having to surrender.
Yeah, going
And
on that next transformation, which is really, I think, like ultimately what we're looking for is like, what
Yeah.
is it gonna bring out of me, and like how's this ride gonna go into a whole other dimension by bringing some other energy here.
Yeah.
I'm ready for it. Hi, my darling. Speaking of relationships, as we come to a close, I want to read from this. I found this book on the street, and I'm obsessed with it. So I always make sure that every guest I do our read. So you are Gemini 3 for your week, and I am
Limit Pusher?
Scorpio 3. So
Oh, nice. Third decade.
I'm so excited.
Scorpio is my 7th house
So
of relationships.
okay, our week is supporting or eroding? Question mark. You are the week of the seeker, of course. I am the week of charm. The book says it. I didn't say it. The advice is don't expect too much of each other, okay? Fulfill your daily responsibilities. Ground your activities. Take the time to care.
I can learn from that.
And we're best at marriage. We're the worst at friendship.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you are in my 7th house of marriage and partnership, so that's really cool. Yeah, I've been coming to really respect the Scorpio vibration. I've been sleeping on Taurus, but I've been wanting to learn more the science of the 7th house. And I have this obsession with Capricorn because my moon's in Capricorn. And I realized a large reason why I'm obsessed with the Sagittarius Capricorn vibration is because it's in my 8th house and it's Scorpio. So yeah, it's definitely had me appreciate how mysterious y'all are and how like
my darling.
pure
Well,
y'all
I saw
are.
in your synergy reading there was a where your Mars is like where you're attracted, and all my exes are Aquarius.
You have Mars in Aquarius?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've come to see that for Mars for the woman is the boyfriend and Venus is like the girlfriend. But then the moon for the man is the wife and then Jupiter is the husband, apparently.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Thing. I'm a newbie over here, and it's like you're saying we need to be literate in this shit. It's expansive.
Yeah, oh yeah. Absolutely.
Okay,
It's very important, very important.
I have one final question before I go, and it's a question I ask all guests. It's kind of the question. Do you believe in Brava?
Honestly, going into this, I was looking for a witty answer, but I'm a 100% believer in Bravo. Like, yes, absolutely. You came through, you showed up. Thank you for interviewing me. Very honored, and very happy.
It was a pleasure. You're as thoughtful as you are good at sharing your thoughts. So what
Thank you.
Those two.
Nice, yeah.
I love it. I love it. You're fulfilling your destiny with every live, and you are making us all fucking X-Men super fighters for 2021.
Yes, and no matter how difficult it gets, no matter how hopeless it gets, all you got to do is just make it through. Don't give up, and you will make it through. That is a fact.
I love it. Love you so much. Thank you so much.